Hello, hello. Welcome to Article Club. Hi, Allison.
Hello.
This is the show where we pick an article, we read that article, and we talk about it. So, what are we talking about today?
What we're talking about today. This is our first dipping our toe into a little bit more of a personal memoir, but also still has...
And a funny one.
Yeah, a funny one. Also still has a lot of science and fun facts in there because you got to be learning.
And fruit roll-ups.
And fruit
Which
roll-ups.
we love.
We love. I'm a gusher. I'm a fruit roll-up girl.
Oh my gosh, we'll get there.
This really hit close to home. So this article is by Caity Weaver in the New York Times about how my trip to quit sugar became a journey into hell. And sort of like the wooification of taking sugar out. I mean, everything's getting wooified these days.
God, I know.
For those unfamiliar with the woo, that's like sort of the
Goopy.
Yeah, goopy. Exactly.
You know, yeah.
Exactly.
Of
But
Gwyneth fame.
Of Gwyneth fame. I related deeply to this author because I every January do sugar-free January.
Oh, I didn't know you do this every year.
Yeah, for the last like 3 or 4 years, my mom and I cut sugar. This year, we also looped my boyfriend in. We looped my boyfriend's mom in, although she only joined us halfway through the month.
Okay.
And it is so hard.
Okay, I've never done this. I can't even imagine how you do it. Has reading this article made you think about entering an institution to support you in January? We'll get into the details of the article, but
no, it hasn't.
She
but
basically goes to a detox center of sorts.
like the Canyon Ranch of Austria is what I would probably call it. So this author Caity Weaver is a sugar addict. She's like talking about how she like just freaking loves
real
sugar.
addict,
like high, like
8 packs of
addictive
gushers.
behavior where she addicts are like hiding their stash all over their house. Like she is hiding her gushers.
And she even says, "Thank God I don't have a predisposition to narcotics or drugs or whatever, because that addictive behavior might be misguided. If it weren't gushers, what would it be?"
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or strawberry fruit roll-ups. Strawberry sensation fruit roll-ups with tongue tattoos.
Very specific. Also, can we, with the tongue tattoos, can we just say how I love her?
Yeah.
She's funny.
She's very funny.
Question, did you look her up?
I did.
Okay, I actually did not, but I had the urge to a few times and then kind of forgot. Like was part of it to see what she looked like?
Oh, I actually didn't look her up. Oh, I did look her up to see what she looked like. Yes. Yeah. Because she talks about basically, I think a lot of people, there's the sort of sugar and diabetes correlation and like how we have the growing obesity epidemic. We got the GLP-1s. We got all these different things. But, most of the time people who consume as much sugar, she talks about people who eat as much sugar as she does often have other problems. Right. And she is sort of like, I don't really seem to have any problems. I'm a healthy weight.
She's like a specimen.
Yeah.
Goes to this place. They take all of these, whatever, crazy measurements and things are in the green.
Yeah. So the back premise of this article is that she like decides, okay, maybe my sugar addiction is not great for me. And I'm sure the New York Times paid for her to go to this place, this Austrian wellness retreat called Viva Meyer.
Oof.
I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it correctly.
It just makes me think of Veep, like Selena Meyer, Viva Meyer.
Yeah. Oh, totally. It's so, and it's like, like I said, the Canyon Ranch of Austria, where you have this intake and they tell you even like before you come, don't start like basically restricting your eating.
When you walk in, they hand you a water bottle with stones in it.
Exactly.
That have minerals.
Talk about woo-woo.
Yeah.
And she like, there's all these strict rules about like, you can't have water while you get like less than a cup of water while you're eating your food because you're supposed to like chew it. I know. Yeah. Who knew? And that you only consume easily digestible foods and you avoid all forms of raw fruit and vegetables, which is fascinating to me. But they're basically telling you to like, prepare your body for this like challenge. And I think there's like also this assumption that like this is going to be hard and so it's going to be challenging and difficult and so you have to prepare for this thing.
Okay, did you fully understand her motivation for going? It's interesting that you said I'm sure the New York Times paid for it.
Yeah.
Because she glosses over she knows she has this sugar addiction. Exactly. She knows she has this sugar addiction. She knows it's probably not good. She has never had a health, scare or reason to think that it's affecting her. And I had the same, did she pitch this as a story to New York Times?
Totally.
Because it didn't seem like she wanted to make a change actively. It was almost I don't know, almost will this experience force me to want to make a change?
Right. Well,
because so many people go when they're in the depths of need, right? And
totally,
that just
or
wasn't
like
her.
wanting to lose weight or like make this huge lifestyle
she
change.
talks about she didn't want to. She wasn't necessarily trying to lose weight.
Well, I think some of it's like it seems like a curiosity. I think some of it is just like probably for the broader public curiosity of like, if I have this problem, is there a silver bullet that, or if I have this quote unquote, is it a problem, is for debate. But is there a silver bullet? Is there some way I can like wellness or woo-woo myself into being a good person who doesn't eat sugar? Because eating sugar is bad.
The tone of the piece makes it so clear to me, though, that there was never like it was always going to be a humorist. She's a funny person, and she was never taking it so like the woo woo so seriously, and maybe rightly so. Right?
Yeah, I think there's some curiosity on her side of like, is sugar bad if I'm quote unquote healthy otherwise?
Right. Oh, that's a huge question.
And I think that's a broad like question in the zeitgeist right now, like because so many people do like, okay, so for example, with my boyfriend and I, we both quit sugar. And then we both had sugar the weekend after, after sugar-free
Can we
Jan.
first ask, how does one quit sugar? What did like?
We both ate a lot of desserts.
Okay, so I get not having dessert.
But that was a big thing to cut out.
But what about like, there's sugar in bread. There's sugar in...
We weren't cutting. It was basically added sugar.
Okay, so soda, dessert.
Soda, dessert. Like, if you have like a matcha latte in the morning that has sugar in it, or like things that are obvious sources. Like we were sort of checking labels, if your tomato sauce had like 2 grams of sugar, we're not like cutting that out.
Okay,
but like for the most part, trying to cut out any added sugar. Like still eating fruit and things like that.
And then you have a big wham bam dessert like binge situation, or was it like I'm just gonna have a scoop of ice cream?
He had pancakes, was his like with like whipped cream and syrup and all that. I was at a wedding, so I had like my friend had gotten candy from this like bonbon like Swedish candy place in New York. I got froyo with mochi toppings, and then I had dessert at the wedding. So I had
rainbow mochi.
No, it was just the plain white one. But I had, multiple desserts
the same anyway.
that day.
It just feels fun when it's rainbow.
Exactly.
Okay.
And he then the next day was like, oh my God, the headache I got post sugar, blah, blah. And I was like, I felt nothing. And so then we were joking like, oh, is this just psychosomatic? Have you like told yourself that now that you have sugar, every time you have sugar, you get a headache?
Right.
And he keeps bringing it up. I'm like, I don't freaking know.
She doesn't get into that at all, really. She talks about how she's just sort of mopey and grumpy and like a horrible version of herself when she doesn't have the sugar.
Exactly.
And then cut to, spoiler, she ends up ruining the detox with like one cinnamon bun or something from the local town. And she's happy again. But
yeah. Well,
this
gets to like, I think so there's like the science, right? So it's like, is sugar bad? And like, why do we crave sugar so much? So she talks about like this mammals, basically, like not all mammals, but humans love sugar. Dogs like sugar. Cats don't like sugar. Bears like sugar.
Doesn't surprise me.
Bears like sugar, obviously, like Winnie the Pooh and honey. Yeah. But seals don't. And so every human is born liking it. And there seems like she talks about these. I'm like gonna butcher this. Chemosensory researchers, which is a cool word, who basically said that like sugar, the reason we like sugar, that apes, all that like sugar, is because it was like signified calories. So it was just like a good way to
I never knew that sweet equaled calorie to whatever biology.
High caloric.
And 80% of an ape's diet was fruity sugary things, and that's where most of our genetic makeup comes from.
And children like sugar more than adults.
Oh my God. Okay, so this gave me a little bit of hope. I didn't realize that there was a connection between the hypergrowth phase of children and the liking of sugar. My kid, if you would just eat through walls of sugar if she could, and it's alarming. It's alarming, and then it becomes and then
everyone
addictive.
tells you like, oh, you got to set these behaviors young. So like,
and I mean, of course, I know parents who do a really good job of trying to avoid it, and some parents who are very anti it. But I just don't know how you can avoid it.
I know it's everywhere, and then she talks. So children like sugar more, and then typically it tends to drop around puberty.
That's the part that gave me hope.
And so she's like, well, maybe my puberty like just never waned. Like maybe I just have the sugar addiction of a child, because she's like, I still deeply, deeply want it. And even where she goes at Vivamar, there's no fruit because it's got sugar in it.
Crazy.
They're like restricting even that.
Okay. The question for you, based on something that she said. She said she watches other adults eat things like broccolini and drink a beer or red wine or whatever. And to her, it tastes like tree bark or something. Like she just has to pretend she likes all these adult things. Are there things like that in your adult life that you feel like are accepted as adult that you don't actually like?
Like, are there foods that I eat that like I'm supposed to like as an
Yeah,
adult?
whether you eat them or not. Like, are there things that adults you're supposed to like as an adult that you're just sort of like, the way she is?
Like the only thing I can think of is like a gin and tonic. I like think they're disgusting. But no,
okay.
nothing. What's it for you?
It's not food related. I knew you were going to ask me too, but I was just thinking about driving. Like adults are supposed to like driving, and I don't.
Yeah. A good whip around that you can always ask is like, what's something that most people like that you hate? Mine's chocolate. I actually do. Even though I'm addicted to sugar, I'm not.
With a capital H? Wait, whoa. You're addicted to sugar?
Well,
after reading this article, do you really think you're addicted to
like sugar a lot.
This girl is not playing.
I'm like, given my affinity for sweets, it's
affinity. Yeah,
it's interesting that I don't like chocolate. I mean, I would never choose it.
Interesting.
Like a chocolate molten lava cake. Bleh.
Yeah. Mine, I don't have a good answer to that. I'm like, licorice-y things, but who likes those?
I
Actually,
love
you
licorice.
do.
Yeah, that's the flip question.
I think
which
that
is
might
what's
be
something that you love that everyone else hates.
Yeah,
it's licorice. For
that
me.
might be my one. That might be like a mark against you. There aren't very many, but.
I mean, I think I do have, or I think I've tempered it now. But the sugar addiction side of things, like when I go off it, I do find that like every night I was like craving a hit.
So interesting.
And I've tried to pare it back since going off of it in January. But like last night, for example, I was like fisting raisins after dinner.
Raisins are delicious. No shade on that.
He was like, Alili, those have a lot of sugar in them. Yeah. And like, I was like,
little sugar
whatever.
So did part of you think and hope that there was an answer to her sugar addiction that might relate to your affinity to sugar when they start doing some
what was so interesting was they
science.
so like at this woo woo place they start
who are we to
they
say,
do all of these battery of tests, and
yes.
I think probably most people that come to this place have some things that wrong with them or that could be improved or whatever, and they're doing all these tests. Like they're doing this one test where they're like moving her legs and then like exposing her to like things like yeast or whatever, and then seeing how hard she can push back against them, and that's when they're saying like, oh, maybe you've got a yeast imbalance, or like this is where your sugar addiction is really playing in. But basically all of the battery of tests that they run on her are like clean bill of health. You're a perfect specimen.
But that one that said, oh, there's a fungal infection in your intestine, obviously you're feeding it with sugar and it just makes you crave sugar. I was like, wow, fascinating. Maybe that's an answer.
Except
and then
debunked.
She talks to an expert who's like, cool. You can't really tell if you have a fungal infection in your
based
gut
on how your
by
muscles
pushing
respond.
your muscles while giving you like crumbs on your tongue. But he does say you can do a fecal sample. So I kind of want her to do that. Like I want that resolution. Why didn't we get that fecal whatever done?
I don't know.
I guess it's not the point. Searching for answers was not the point of the piece. Necessary.
Well, for sure. But I think it's sort of like everyone's on their own journey. And I mean, I think this article brought for me too of like the question of like, why do we always feel like there's something wrong with us? Like she's basically searching like, okay, everyone tells me that this sugar thing is bad. Mm-hmm. There must be something wrong with me. She goes to this Vivmar. They like run on this battery of tests. She's on this restrictive diet. She sort of is just like, yeah, I can eat. She finds herself. I mean, at one point she's eating like probably less than 1,000 calories a day.
The stuff they're feeding them all viscous.
Yeah, all viscous things that are easily digestible and like these little.
And you have to chew 40 times. How do you chew soup 40 times? GMJ baby.
I don't know. But then she and she's like, oh, I'm actually like less. I'm not as hungry as I thought I would be, and blah blah blah. But sort of like just because I can do this, like again back to the idea of like is being good just like meaning that you're going through that it's like hard and difficult and you couldn't possibly enjoy your life and be healthy, right? Like those are diametrically opposed.
Totally. And I want the takeaway to be live your own life. It doesn't matter if you have too much sugar or not. Sometimes, this person does seem like a biological specimen. She's able to handle the sugar quite well. I laughed out loud when she was considering herself like, maybe I'm a medical miracle. Maybe I should teach this doctor like what to eat and what to do or whatever. And she called herself, she said, maybe I'm like the mushrooms at Chernobyl that ate the radiation or something. So funny.
Well, I loved the part. So she she talks about, she's again meeting with this nutritionist, and the nutritionist is like, oh, you have to stop drinking Diet Coke. And she was like, aspartame is poison, it'll kill you. In Europe over here, we use aspartame to destroy ants. And she's just sort of like actually curious, and she's like, well, how do you kill ants with it? And she, instead of being like, oh, well, we extract whatever, the woman's like, it's just poison. Like,
yes, like totally.
Everyone, and the average person would just be like, okay, you are telling me what to do. And so I guess I have to stop doing this, and like I have to give up something I love. And I'm not like saying you should be, double fisting Diet Cokes every day, but like it's,
as my mom would say, everything in moderation.
Exactly.
There's one thing in here she repeats that is hilarious and also brings up a lot of questions. It is, I go with what the will of God, or how does she put it? She's like, whatever God tells me to do. And at one point she's like, God told me in the Atlanta airport to get fried chicken and cobbler and bring it on the plane or whatever.
Yeah, God is just like her inner,
whatever
monologue.
God tells me to do. And I know it's just for like her inner monologue, but it did bring up this question for me of, what does living a joyful, meaningful life mean? This is coming up a lot in a lot of the pods. And is just going with the flow, like the will of God, it? Or is it like actually harnessing some control so that then you can navigate in a way that makes you happy? It kind of felt to me like, just whatever happens isn't what would make me happy going through life. Like sometimes like not having a treat like makes the treat better when you have it.
Yeah. Like,
or
like
doing
if you give yourself
trying a new
if
sport.
you have dessert every night.
She seems a very fixed mindset.
Yeah.
He asked her, he's like, you should do, the doctor's like at the woo-woo place, to be fair, is like, you should do more sports. She's like, I don't like sports. And he lists off all these sports and she's kind of like, nope.
Yeah.
I just wonder, and the will of God, like her just like go with the flowness, is that for her the joy? Maybe.
Yeah.
I know for me, like, it's got to be a little bit of I need to feel like I'm in control. I would hate feeling out of control.
Yeah, but I don't think she feels out of control.
I don't know. She's like she's flipping furiously through a book of ice cream, like at the hiking place, and people are like pulling her away from it.
Basically so she's at this resort for a couple of days. She's sort of losing her mind of wanting. She's like deeply craving sugar. She's sort of like going through all these tests, being told there's nothing wrong with her, and I think she's sort of being like, well, do I need to actually follow this? And then she's on a hike with her friend who's another patient there who's diabetic, and they stumble, they sort of go off book and stumble upon this bakery, and they order pastries and basically
should we do it? I love this.
And so just hilarious. And just totally give up on.
Yeah, she says wipe out 5 days of detox.
Exactly.
In literally 2 seconds.
And then head back, and then she sort of the end of the article is when she goes home, she's like sort of like reflecting this, and she's like, well, is anything actually wrong with me? Like I couldn't last 5 days without sugar. And so she starts talking to some other experts. She talks to this guy, Dr. Ian Slack, who's like an allergist, to be like, does this diagnosis actually make sense?
Yeah.
That I have this gut resistant thing that's causing this deep sugar addiction. He's basically like, you'd have to do other tests, as we talked about. None of these are what you're talking about. So, so I think that was sort of an interesting of like, yeah, again, is something wrong with me? What do I need to change?
Yeah.
Like she sort of seems to want to answer that question, but to your point, not necessarily want to actually make any behavioral changes.
Which is also fine. And
Totally.
It seems like her body's telling her it's fine.
Yeah.
A couple of other things that made me just laugh out loud. The doctor in this clinic is trying to ask her, like, you eat a lot of sugar. What do you eat? Chocolate. And she's like, no. She's like, fruit roll up, fruit by the foot, gushers, whatever. He has no idea. He's like, jelly beans or whatever.
Yeah.
And she calls them depraved comestibles or whatever, like, that we have in this country, which is like, is wild. I did want to side note ask you, like, what is your favorite depraved comestible? Like,
I was a big Gushers. My dad, growing up, my dad did all of our grocery shopping, so we could put whatever we wanted on the list, and he would get it because he just like wasn't actually discerning, and so so we got a lot of Gushers.
Okay, Gushers
but I don't think Gushers like would do it for me now. Nowadays, I love, as you know, I love stale gummies. So that could be stale licorice. Yes. It could be stale, like fruity, sour gummies.
But you're a gummy gal.
I'm a gummy gal.
She brought up Dunkaroos. I haven't thought about them in a long time.
Yeah,
but, like,
don't do it for me.
Oh my God, a cookie and a frosting. Like really,
no.
My mom would go to Costco and would buy a big tub of chocolate chip cookie dough, like, to make cookies every once in a while. And I would like put a spoon in the chocolate chip cookie dough. I've always liked like cookie dough, like almost like savory stuff more than the more than the sweet gummy stuff. Although every single day in high school, I would go to, they had a school store. Why the hell would a school store sell candy? Don't know. The 90s, the 2000s.
Yeah.
High school. And I would get a pack of watermelon Sour Patch and I would like roll them out with a pen. You know, you do like weird stuff with your food.
Oh,
like
totally.
in class.
I used to like smash my,
yeah.
I eat my Kit Kats really weak. Like,
yes.
you know, I have a way I eat my Reese's Cups, a way I eat my Kit Kats.
Which brings me to another point that she talks about, which is that loving sugar became part of her personality.
Yeah.
Like everyone who knows her knows she's got a sweet tooth. It's just part of her quirky, silly, fun way she looks at life. And I was trying to think, you know, like, do I have that? Do people, am I known for certain things? And I am. When I was a kid, I remember my family, I probably said like, we lived in Spain for a period of time. I had arroz con leche, a little like rice pudding at one point, and I liked it. And then it became, I'm obsessed with rice pudding. And then a birthday cake, you know, you always I got the red velvet birthday cake, delicious, delicious. But in college, that's where it really became like in the dining hall, what you do was like really became who you were.
Yeah.
And I would do like peanut butter and jelly rice cakes and cut them into little pieces. And I wouldn't leave the cafeteria without a cinnamon toast crunch. Like just like weird stuff like that. And like mix of little
What
things.
about now?
You know, less of that now. Still love a good a Litz, as we say, which is like frozen blueberries with some yogurt covered almonds and some, you know, plantain chips or something in a bowl.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What's your personality food?
People know about candy for me.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Like licorice. Like my whole family buys licorice for me. When I've lived with roommates, they always would buy licorice for me. So that's probably my candy is probably my
candy's your personality.
Yeah. Okay. If I had to pick a food, probably candy.
Mm-hmm.
You're
much more than licorice.
If
you're
wondering,
I love licorice because she does ask that question.
Well, and so then I think the other piece. So I also sent you, as we were thinking about this piece, sort of the flip side of this, which is like the immense privilege of this whole piece, and like the questioning of like, okay, because Caity Weaver is a seemingly, you know, thin, white, seemingly affluent woman, like what if this was written by someone else? Like, what if this was written by like a fat person? Like we would have so much different judgment too on this article. We would have so much different judgment.
Well, that's also what makes it so interesting because we hear these journeys of people who are ill or, you know, like striving for a very specific end result, and she's really not. She's just kind of like going in open-minded, trying to explore the ins and outs of it.
Totally, and doesn't really. I think it's more of a curiosity versus a goal. Like I don't know that she actually wanted to break her sugar addiction,
right?
Because she didn't have to. Like, there's no consequences for her right now, other than like feeling like she's hiding shit from her husband.
And there is a really beautiful tie to. She talks about how her mother also had sort of a similar sweet tooth, and she has these really nice memories of it. And she really appreciated how. And she talks about the dining hall in college. I feel like that's formative, the dining hall. I don't know, listeners, let us know. But she had all these friends who would skip by the desserts or like calories were a thing or whatever. And it was just this joyful part of life that she was always encouraged to participate in, which feels very healthy.
Totally. I think about my grandmother and my mom.
We think sugar isn't healthy, but that feels like the healthiest.
Yeah. My grandmother and mom eat ice cream every night after dinner.
Amazing.
So I'm like, again, maybe this is genetic.
Yeah.
We all do. My grandmother doesn't do sugar for January because she's like 95.
Yeah.
But my mom and I both do. And then I think she did say, she called me like early Feb and was like, oh, my like arthritis in my thumb is acting up and I've had sugar like the last couple of nights. But again, are we like
post the
when she returned back to sugar, her arthritis was worse. And I'm sure like there's some inflammation, whatever.
Maybe.
But who knows?
I truly, if I have like ice cream, like I have like a good amount of ice cream or like a couple cookies or something after dinner late, I will sweat. I wake up like sweaty.
Really?
Yeah, I have a sweat thing. And I think that started with pregnancy. And it like something hormonal happens with sugar overnight for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not really headaches, but
so do you do anything about it? Do you just not?
No, I'm just like, I know I'm going to be, I mean, when I want to have some froyo, I do it, but I just know I'm going to be sweaty.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this also reminded me, there was like that whole book in the early 2000s, I think, Sugar Busters, like the Sugar Busters diet. Like sugar's been demonized. I feel like, you know, it was like fat was like everyone was fat free. And then sugar has been demonized the last bit of things. But like also sugar can be very positive. Like sugar releases dopamine, which, you know, so does cocaine, but like also so does like holding a puppy or like hugging a loved one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking about sugar as a punishment with my toddler, like not being able to have a treat becomes the worst thing of all time. And I know that that's not a good thing to hold over a toddler, but there's very few things in their life that have the draw
that they want as much.
That they want, and very few things you can take away. It's a struggle. So I wonder how other people are dealing with that.
Yeah. Like, is this is a restriction of food inherently bad?
Right.
Right. Is it just diet culture?
And it sounds like you never had restrictions on food growing up. Neither did I ever.
No.
Ever.
But then I think about like all of our, it's like all the friends who became like gluten free in the 2010s because they suddenly developed a gluten allergy, but which was really just like an eating disorder in masquerade.
Yeah. Well, for some.
And like it's like, is this is sugar?
Yeah. Well, she talks about she's actually she's not necessarily looking for exactly what this Vienna Detox Center is offering. They're offering like this holistic like whatever, and she was looking for a like where can I go that helps me want this food less place.
Yeah.
And she says something along the lines of, "Oh, I'm not surprised that doesn't exist because that feels like branded eating disorder." Places where could you go to not want food?
Right.
So, I mean, it's an interesting question, like the guise of the holistic health it doesn't seem like they give her any data, any research, any...
Yeah, I'd be so curious to see the Vive Mars retaliation to this article.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
How are they justifying
exactly?
it? We should have gone to their website.
And there's one paragraph where they're like, okay, in the morning you're going to take like a scoop of this whatever citrate something oxide. Then you're going to swish this mouth oil. Then you're going to like whatever.
Right.
And let me tell you, like I've taken one supplement and gotten blood work that's like, your liver doesn't like this. Like, how are we supposed to know when we take one sort of institution's opinion that it's not messing up another part of our bodies? Totally. We don't know. And guess what? Neither do they.
Yeah, totally.
We don't know what happens to our bodies over time with stuff like this.
Yeah.
And truly, we don't really know with ultra-processed food what happens over time.
Yeah.
Do we? Probably. Somebody out there is like, we know exactly what happens.
And it's not good.
You don't know what happens, lady.
The other day, I was eating, we got some, Mario, my boyfriend was trying not to eat like fried foods. And so we got these like baked shrimp chips from a bodega.
Was that related to the sugar?
No, he's just
Detox?
like he's on a kick. He wants to get abs.
These boys.
And, and so.
Cut to my husband. Went to this workout class at 5 a.m. this morning. I'm still sleeping by the time he gets back. He's like fully showered back, wakes up our children. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so he is trying to do no fried food feb. And so he gets these baked shrimp chips at a bodega corner store. And because they're quote unquote
way
healthier.
Worse for you.
I know. And we're eating them. And I was like, the first chip, I was like, I was like, oh, I don't really like it. But then I like had another or two or three, and then I was like, oh, there's something about this that I just like can't stop eating it. And then I look at the back of the bag because I'm like, I wonder like what the heck is in these things. And I'm like, oh, monosodium glytamate, which is MSG, which makes food addictive.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay. Of course.
Have you had this experience where you take something as health food? I think granola is a great example. Something like that.
Totally.
It's like, this is better than having a cookie. Whatever. You eat the entire box of granola.
Exactly.
There's
no added benefit there.
There's no added benefit there.
But yes, in college I used to. The Tostitos hint of lime chips.
Yes,
used to have MSG in them.
Oh,
they maybe still do.
It was truly my favorite thing.
They're so addictive.
World. We did have an episode about sleep. Who knows if this is coming before or after that? But listen to it if you haven't listened to it. And my mindset on the sugar thing very much parallels the mindset on the sleep thing. Thinking about it too much in any direction is never really good for me. Like whenever I'm the most flexible, like just like go for the things that feel good is like the best. And overthinking it, I don't know. I almost don't want anyone to tell me how much I should really have or not have or whatever.
Well, it's so interesting how all of these people talk about like GLP-1s, like Ozempic and things like that, and how they like quiet the food noise. So like,
and they change the way you taste things.
Yeah. So they're like, I mean, again, this is early, but like they can help some people with addictive behavior. So then I'm like, are people going to take those and then be like, I don't like the sugar anymore. I don't like coffee. I don't like whatever.
These fruit roll-ups wouldn't taste as good.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It can change your brain to not like artificial flavors. Amazing.
That's wild. Mm-hmm. So it could be that.
Yeah, could be that. All right. Any last words on the sugar? Wait, what's your takeaway from your month? And did it change year to year?
My takeaway from my month is I'm still trying to eat less sugar because I think I just like am consuming. Like I often am just giving myself a treat for empty calories. So basically, I'm trying to not I'm trying to only have sugar on quote unquote special occasions. So like if I'm at a dinner and people want to get dessert, great. But if it's like after lunch on a Tuesday, I don't need a treat.
Yeah. Like an insert. She talks about, I think I was having a treat when I was bored or like to fill the time or space or what have you. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about was how sweet it was when her mom passed away. Her husband, who seems very sweet.
So sweet.
Asked, what do you want to eat tonight or whatever? And she's like, truly just cake.
Yeah.
Which is so cute. And he gets her this like bounty of desserts, like excessive amount of dessert. And she just thinks, oh, my mom would love this.
Yeah.
Like,
so sweet.
It's really sweet. So.
Yeah, so my takeaway is we'll try to keep it, just everything in moderation. I think I was like not in a moderation mindset before.
Yeah, and I do hope there continue to be better options. Like I ate like garbage when I was a kid because nobody knew how bad sugar was, and that's what the food was. Yeah, right. Like that's what you were offered.
Oh yeah,
that's
Oreos,
vending machine, like
Chips Ahoy, everything.
Your children in this growth phase, like we're acting like apes trying to get fruit. Of course, we're going to eat a ton of sugar.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
All right. Well, now it's time for our very official segment. It's called What's Blowing Up the Group Chat. And to be perfectly honest with you, I completely forgot it. And I've been like thinking in real time what mine's going to be. So you're going to go first.
Okay. I always go first.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's time for you to go first again.
Okay. What's blowing up the group chat?
Yeah. Oh, well, this is our segment where we, just talk about what's blowing up the group chat. What's on the text thread? What are the friends talking about?
Yeah.
What's the chitter to the chatter?
Blowing up the group chat. For me, on my end, I'm getting ready to go to Japan. And so blowing up the group chat has actually been talking about all of the things we're going to get at 7-Eleven. Because Japanese 7-Eleven is like...
Been there. Had it.
Yeah. 7-Eleven here.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. So we're blowing up what we're going to get.
It's good that you have a game plan.
Apparently, they're like the number one selling item at 7-Eleven, these chocolate-covered muscat grape gummies, which sounds disgusting.
No, it sounds good.
But they're apparently
except you hate chocolate.
Amazing. I know, but I'm going to give them a go. So I'm going to get that, and then also apparently the egg salad sandwiches.
Yeah, the like no crust, white as white bread in a little like plastic
milk bread.
Those are the ones, the milk bread. That's what I remember the most.
Yeah,
I don't remember anything else, but I can't help you.
Yeah,
but I like that you guys are planning. It's like aisle by aisle.
Oh,
we got to snatch.
Oh yeah, what are we gonna get? The vending machines. Yeah.
Yes, I was going to say the vending machines.
The
vending machines I remember too. Like you could get full meals out of vending machines, which is so cool.
Insane. How do they keep it hot? I don't know.
I'm jealous.
We'll never know.
We must go back together. We'll make a pact.
Yeah.
I just thought of it while you were talking to me earlier. This one is from the mom group chat, actually. There's segments of a woman's life. Some have to do with motherhood. And it's about postpartum periods and PMS. I don't know if anybody out there after having a child or like months after having a child goes into a rage around their period. Like crazy. This happened to me like the first couple of periods after having my son, who is now 9 months old. And I didn't know what was happening. Never had PMS, never had bad periods. It was crazy. It's like your body just like
readjusting or something, or what?
I mean, how annoying is it that all the info we get is like, oh, you're just readjusting. It's just hormones, whatever.
What is it?
This like earth-shattering thing just happened to your body, and every time your body menstruates now, it's just kind of like adjusting itself. So, I actually here's all the TMI. Ended up just like getting an IUD again, and that's felt better. So,
but everyone seems to experience this like
it's been
wave?
Throwing up not necessarily. That's why it's blowing up the group chat. It's like, is anybody else having this? It's actually somebody else brought it up, and I was like, yeah, me, totally me. And then another person jumped in and was like, I thought I was just being a huge bitch, and I'm gonna go tell my husband because of this or whatever. But yeah, it's just another. Yeah, I know a lot about women's health, done a lot of women's health things, but let me tell you, there are still surprises.
One side effect that just
many surprises.
No one warned you about.
It's exciting.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, sugar. Japan.
Sugar, TBD on if it's PMS. Good or bad or indifferent.
We can't tell you.
Yeah, we're not the scientists here.
You're still going to get those chocolate covered, whatever.
Muscat grape gummies.
That sounds amazing. Bring me some. Bring me one.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
Treats.
Okay. Until next time.
See ya.
All right. Bye.